Here we go! Welcome to the P2 Power Play Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Wilson, alongside...
with Tiago, my friend, 2 weeks.
2 weeks, and we back.
Oh my goodness, I think you guys miss us, yeah? So we are remodeling a little
studio.
our studio, so it's not ready yet.
Change the game. We're in a different location, too.
Game. Yeah.
Changing
so
up.
let me start with something about like the closed caption again. If you want to watch this in Portuguese, você pode trocar no settings e colocar a língua em português. Obviamente, se tu quer em espanhol, tu pode cambiar em ajustes e poner autotraducción. Eso es. The other thing that I want to start advertising is our new glasses, the Blue Machine glasses. Okay, it's available already for purchase in our website, Blue Machine glasses.
There we go.
Yeah?
Blue Machine.
And
today's historic.
Oh, yeah.
Today's historic. Yeah, because first time in the show podcast we've ever had 2 guests at one time.
And I'm nervous. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and introduce them. We got 2 great guys here. The first one is Chris Debari Law. He was actually my injury attorney when I got in an accident not that long ago.
Thank you, guys. Great to be here.
Yeah,
thank you for having
Chris.
us.
Yeah.
Thank
Our
you,
second
Chris.
one is Dr. Dale.
Hey guys.
Local chiropractic, one of the best in the business, here to help share some knowledge. So we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different things, ranging from injury to life to business, and we're going to have a great show.
Yeah, and I want to highlight as well, thank you so much, Chris Debari, for helping underprivileged kids playing soccer. You know, you was very grateful what you have done for us on the past year, so we really appreciate your help.
It's my
Thank you
pleasure.
so much.
Absolutely. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
So why don't we start with you, Chris? Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit, explain what you do, who you are, why, and then we're going to do Dr. Dale next.
Well, I'm attorney Chris Debari. I am a personal injury attorney. I've been practicing in that area of law for over 20 years. I represent people who have been injured, say in motor vehicle accidents involving cars, trucks, buses, motorcycles, people who've been hurt on other people's premises, department stores, personal property and premises liability cases. I also do criminal defense work and traffic and PIP but mainly it's personal injury. So if somebody's been injured, have them call me.
Like me.
Like you.
Yeah, I want to talk about this later.
We can. That's
and
good.
Dr. Dale.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
No, thank you for coming.
All right, I'm Dr. Dale Hansen. I have a chiropractic practice here in Orlando. I have another one in Tampa. We do a lot of work with trauma patients. We do a lot of work with athletes. Okay. So my job is to get people moving, to get people healthy, and to keep people from needing drugs or surgery, to get people healthy naturally. That's pretty much what both of my practices are geared towards.
Tell them your motto.
Which one? Oh, I got your back and your neck.
I got your back in it. Well, I like what you said. I said that you said naturally.
Yes.
Because everybody wants to go to medicine, and I think natural is...
Yeah, and then the thing is that has its place also. So a lot of the people that I work with who have been in car accidents, who have been injured, I don't want to try to take that away from them, but the goal is to get them free of needing that sort of thing. So I work with a lot of surgeons, a lot of imaging facilities. I work with a lot of orthos and DOs, but the goal ultimately is to get those people healthy and back to exercising and back to being active and back to being able to move freely, because that movement actually is what keeps your pain threshold high.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of my clinics have more exercise equipment than anything else. So
yeah. So and I don't know if you know, but we have a very special guest as well. Like is well known as a Snoop Dogg.
I can't believe you're making me do this. This is crazy.
Welcome to the show, Snoop.
Oh my God, that was funny. Thank you so much again, you guys, for coming.
he can do so many of it.
Yeah.
I almost just want to put a curtain up. And guess who's behind it?
Close your eyes, guys. Just close your eyes.
He was not prepared for it.
A lot of people living inside this head.
Yeah. So why we don't start, Dr. Chris Debari, about his car accident?
Yeah.
What happened? This guy doesn't drive really good, or what happened with this guy?
No. If you want to talk about it,
This one?
Kyle.
HIPAA, please. HIPAA, don't do it. Yeah.
Kyle was rear-ended. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He was stopped, and somebody wasn't paying attention. So much the case, much of the time, and banged into the back of his Kia Soul, and caused visible property damage. He had problems with his back, and He did the right.
You still have problems, yeah?
A little bit, yeah. But
Now, and interesting, Kyle is subject to the strictures of Florida law, just like everybody else. Like, for instance, and something Dr. Dale knows a lot about too. He had 15 days, or I'm sorry, 14 days to treat after your accident.
Oh.
You've only got 2 weeks to get to a physician to treat you. If you go to an ER, that counts. If you go to see like Dr. Dale, that counts. An orthopedist, even a primary care doctor. You need to go within the first 2 weeks, or else your insurance company, the one you pay premium to, can deny your no-fault benefits under your policy.
14 days.
Yeah, 14 days.
and it was funny too, because like I was just sitting there, and then I didn't even know. Boom, and I got hit, and I told Chris, I was like, I think the guy hit me at 25, at least 20 miles per hour. And, But I was at a dead stop, like I was at a red light, and the guy just boom, and he probably hit me at like 12. Like he didn't hit me that hard, but it felt like.
Oh, yeah. When you stop, it's like kind of double speed.
It doesn't take much. When the human body, we're not transformers or human beings. If your body has to move at mechanical speed, it's gonna have an effect. Maybe Dale can explain to us what's a whiplash injury.
Well, first of all, what you guys were talking about, when you're standing still and someone gets hit, rear-ended at even 25 miles an hour, I have a lot of patients who come in and say, I was only hit at, maybe 20, 25, 30 miles an hour, so it wasn't that. They go, it wasn't that big of a deal. And I'm like, it was a lot of kinetic energy that was transferred to you, because think about the average car weighs 3,500 and maybe 4,000 pounds. So divide that by like maybe 6. So how many people is that? That's 5, 6 linebackers running at you at full speed and all hitting you at the same time while you're just standing still. So how much impact are you actually absorbing? When you think about that, if you had an entire offensive
You look at it that way? Yeah.
just running at you, and you just had to sit there and brace. Oh, okay, I'll be fine.
What can you do to prevent that? For example, you are seeing the car is going to hit you. You can see on the
Review, the mirror.
Yeah. So what can you do?
Stay home.
Yeah, there's not much you can do.
Like you hold like that on the seat. What do you do?
Most people don't have time to react.
Yeah.
So you just hope your airbags work. If you're hit from the front, and if you're hit from behind, most people don't see it coming. If you're hit from behind, maybe you glance in the rearview mirror and just have a chance to wince, and that's it. And what happened to you? Did you know it was coming?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah,
Just bang. I was like, well, I wouldn't say I was disoriented, but I was like, what the hell just happened? Like, I didn't even understand. So then I got out of the car because I didn't know what to do next. I'm looking around, I'm like, oh, I just got hit.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
It's very disorienting. It's interesting because that behavior of rear-ending somebody is so disfavored under Florida law that if you rear-end somebody on the road, under the law, you're presumed to be at fault. Unless you can come up with some crazy thing. Oh, the guy in front of me made some crazy aggressive stop or cut in front of me and hit his brakes. Okay. And that's usually what some defendants will sort of feed you because there's nothing else they can say. But otherwise, if you rear-end somebody, you're presumed under Florida law to be responsible.
If you hit on the back end.
Yeah. I mean, in an injury case, we have to prove 2 things. We have to prove liability for causing the accident and also causation for the injuries. Did the accident cause the injury you're complaining of? But the first prong, fault for the accident. In a rear-end situation, it's practically a gimme.
What is the most common case in your office?
Most common case is a rear-end car accident case. Or I've got cases where tractor trailers rear-end people, and that's never pretty. Had a case where they rear-ended a Ford Explorer Sport Track, and there wasn't a lot of damage to the back of the car, and it was like, well, the damage wasn't great, but you can actually see that the bed pushed against the cab, and it obviously hit hard enough to make that happen. So, tractor trailers, and one of the biggest problems with tractor trailer drivers, and I've had these guys in deposition, I'm like, so what does your truck weigh? And they'll tell me what it weighs. I go, what does it weigh empty? And they'll tell me what it weighs empty. I'm just like, how much room do you need to stop your vehicle going from 55 miles an hour to 0? And they don't know the answer. So a lot of the time, and even with people don't know how much room they need to stop their vehicle, particularly like in wet conditions. So a rear-end collision is just a natural thing that happens most of the time.
It's crazy.
It's completely crazy.
Kyle, no driving anymore, just Uber, yeah?
I'm Uber.
Nowadays?
Yeah, no, just Uber. I do have a question for really both of you, and can you give us maybe like the craziest story you had about maybe a patient? Don't give a name, but just something that you had to deal with that was just nuts.
Most recently, if I'm talking about a patient, the one I was working on recently, he was in a motorcycle accident where he was actually in a coma for a little while in a hospital for, I think, 3 months.
3 months.
He had multiple surgeries. I can't remember how many exactly, but he had a fusion of his pelvis almost completely. He had to have his jaw put back together, basically reconstructed. And then he wanted to get moving. He wanted to get healthy. This is a guy who he's in his 60s. He's kind of like an inspirational guy to me because on top of just being a tough guy, his life, he wants to go cave diving and exploring and fishing and doing all the things that I want to do. Yeah. And after something like that traumatic, he showed me pictures. He's like, well, I still want to be able to move and to be able to run and to be able to swim and to be able to fish. And I'm like, all right. So he showed me, he brought in all the pictures of his hardware. I'm like, all right, this is going to be
motivation.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of time here, and it's going to be a little bit of effort on both parts. But if you want to do it, we'll do it. So after a couple months, he's back to moving. He's back to like the last time I talked to him, he went camping in the mountains with his wife, and he was like, "Yeah, I slept in the dirt. Basically, didn't even bring an air mattress. It's like, yeah, it's fine." But that's the kind of thing that helps you. I guess just look forward to being able to, even though he had gone through something really rough. Like, well, if I can get that guy moving,
so the compensation of all the work.
Yeah, then somebody who's with less trauma should be a lot easier. But that guy had a lot of limitations just because he was basically put back together.
So no motorcycle anymore for this guy?
It was right after I'd taken the motorcycle class. Like I had just gotten done taking that, weekend class so you can get your certification.
Right.
And I bit it when I was taking that class. Just at like 10 miles an hour, just fell on my knee and stood up and I was like, oh, I don't know if this is for me. That
I sold my bike like 1 year ago. I was I was in a 528, 80 miles per hour. I had like a 1,000 cylinders, very, very fast. But like, you know what? I have 2 kids in my house. I'm not going to continue with that. And I sold on the same day.
I have 2 kids also, the same thing. They were like, don't get a motor. You'll be dead inside 6 months. And I was like, come on. What? That's coming from a 16-year-old. So.
What about your case, though?
Well, just to kind of to tag onto that, a lot of the people that operate motorcycles think a do-rag is like protection for their head.
Now, how much is your head worth?
How much is your head worth? I have a client recently that actually went over the hood of a car on a motorcycle because he had the right of way. He was traveling at a reasonable amount of speed. He was able to control his bike enough that he avoided a tragic collision, but there was enough inertia that he actually went over the car that hit him. And he had a helmet on. So when his head made contact with the pavement, it was, rang his bell, but nothing, he didn't have a traumatic brain injury. And you ask what's the craziest kind of cases that I've dealt with, traumatic brain injuries are, because these people have deficits. I had a lady I was telling you guys about earlier who she was just walking out of Home Depot and plywood fell and whacked her on the forehead and knocked her out. Yeah. And they did the scans on her brain and they found there was disturbance in the white matter of her brain, and she was stuttering and she wasn't the same person after that. And those are the craziest cases. Those are the most tragic cases. Particularly when you consider how avoidable it all is. So somebody, because of someone else's negligence, goes from being a whole person to being somebody with profound inability to cope with the world that they're used to. And it's really, and one of the big problems we run into a lot of the time is just simply responsible parties aren't carrying enough insurance coverage. The bodily injury liability is not mandatory in the state of Florida, but companies and things like that, people that are conscientious will carry bodily injury liability, will carry uninsured motorists. But are the way the laws are written and the way people educate, it really doesn't benefit the citizenry of Florida at all.
So what happens in a situation where if you don't cover enough of the insurance of the bodily injury?
Well, there's a saying that for anything you don't carry insurance for, you are self-insured. So most people you want to carry, and this is something that I found that Floridians have a difficult time getting their head around this idea, and I don't really blame people, but you are always your first and best line of defense. So how do you avoid being in a situation where you don't have the ability to pay for your medical care? If you purchase bodily injury liability, then you're allowed to purchase uninsured motorist coverage and just carry enough of it. Think about carrying 100,000, 300,000, 250, 500,000, even 50, 100, even 25, 50, if that's all you can afford, but never be without uninsured motorist or underinsured motorist, because if you have that on your policy, then you will have money to address your medical needs, and that's certain.
Right there.
This is important.
Because that happened to me. I got hit by somebody that was uninsured.
Yeah. So it's only the fact that he had uninsured motorist coverage on his policy that enabled him to have a recovery. So, but to answer your question, I kind of went off the left field a little bit. Sorry about that. But if somebody doesn't have bodily injury liability or not enough bodily injury liability, and or the combination of their BI and your UM is not enough to satisfy your needs, then they're on the hook for your economic damages. Yeah. And people can lose their driving privilege if they're unable to make the other person whole. And then what ends up happening is you have to carry FR44 insurance, which you purchase at a ridiculous monthly rate. I mean, they're going to want $400 or $500 a month just to insure you, and then you got to carry 100,000, 300,000 limits, and you got to carry it for like 4 years. So imagine how much money you save yourself just by purchasing the right stuff up front.
Yeah.
But it's just like everything else. People want to gamble, but they don't want to lose.
Correct. They want to get the most profit, like with the less cost.
Exactly.
So, I mean, let's help people that is watching us about, for example, a new business owner that works with kids. Let's give our example, that way we can help us out in clubs that is watching us. What is the ideal insurance for companies that work with kids? You umbrella, all that thing.
You want to have a pretty high combined single limit.
Yeah.
You probably want to. I mean, I wouldn't carry, if I were dealing with children, I probably wouldn't carry less than $1 million of combined single limit, probably more. Umbrella policies are great because they can allow you greater coverage. For instance, suppose you were to write with Progressive and you want to carry $250,000, $500,000 bodily injury liability or uninsured motorist coverage, you can then purchase an umbrella for like $1 million for just a few $100s a year. And then you've got all that coverage. And that's always a good thing. And this is really the mistake people make. Well, why should I insure myself if somebody's just going to want more money from me? Well, you have an insurance policy.
Yeah.
They're not going to come after you personally. They're not going to try to attach your assets. They're not going to try to garnish your wages. They're not going to try to get your license suspended so that you can't make a livelihood.
This is a good, I think for us it's a good question. Like LLC, for example, if someone sued us, so does hurts our personal side or just the LLC company? How can we prevent to be?
Well, here's the thing, and not to get too much into legal advice when it comes to corporations, because that's not really my area.
Yeah.
But the reason you incorporate, and one of the benefits, I should say, not the reason, but one of the big benefits of incorporation is the fact that you insulate yourself from individual civil liability.
Yeah.
As long as a couple of things, as long as you run the corporation like a corporation, if you run it as a closely held company where there's a lot of self-dealing and things like that, it's going to be a lot easier for somebody to pierce the corporate veil and come after you personally. But if you do everything above board, you run it like a corporation responsibly, then, provided that, you don't do anything grossly negligent, which still would expose the corporation. For the owner to be exposed, the corporation would have to be like a self-dealing, closely held situation where they're commingling funds and personal funds and corporate funds. But if you do it above board, then you should be fairly well insulated from civil liability. Now, the corporation would be vulnerable.
Oh yeah.
But hopefully you have your releases in place that should be pretty comprehensive, and provided you can avoid acts of gross negligence on behalf of agents, employees, contractors, and owners, usually in a pretty good place.
Yeah. I'm feeling way better having the best here with us. Oh my goodness.
Can we talk about PIP to help explain what that is? And
what do you think, Dr. Dale? Want to talk about PIP?
Go ahead.
So now, Dr. Dale deals with PIP every day.
Yes.
And basically, just what PIP is, it's traditionally PIP was $10,000 that was afforded to you by your own insurance company. So you pay the premium for this, and it pays the first $10,000 of coverage minus your deductible. at 80% for medical bills and 60% for lost wages or a combination of the two. And you can reserve all for wages, you can reserve all for medical. Traditionally, PIP was founded and given to us, and there was an exchange. In order to benefit from PIP and have this fund be available so that you can treat right away, what was sacrificed by Florida motorists was they have to prove a permanent injury if they're going to seek non-economic kind of damages. So if people ask us what kind of damages do we go after if you're a lawyer. There's economic damage, which is past medical bills, future projected medical needs, past lost wages, projected future loss of earning capacity, loss of services, things you've had to come out of pocket for. Those are economic. You can pursue them no matter what. But to pursue non-economic damage like pain and suffering, loss of enjoyment of life or life's activities, mental anguish, you have to demonstrate a permanent injury. What's the legal buzzwords? Within a reasonable degree of?
Certainty.
There you go. Medical probability or certainty. So you have a patient, Dr. Dale. They come to you, say an auto accident, it's a classic scenario. They've treated within 14 days, so they're going to be allowed to have their PIP. What are the next steps?
Good question. See?
Yeah, see?
Well, the first thing we want is just to figure out exactly what it is that's safe to do with them. So we want to make sure we do a proper exam, consultation, diagnostic testing if we need anything. As far as x-rays, if they're not responding quickly enough, MRIs to see what's going on with the soft tissue. And then we usually have about 3 phases of care. In the beginning, we want to make sure that we do something really passive so that they're able to just relax. And we're trying to really get them out of pain and to start getting them back to mobility. Then after they're able to start moving, we want to get them into sort of an intermediate phase of care where we're doing some exercises, we're doing some stretching, we give them some things to take home. And that's when I tell them, hey, when you're coming in here from now on, try to bring in some shoes where you can actually work out a little bit. So that's
a little sweat.
Yeah, that's when we start to get them stretching and start to get the blood flowing, get their heart rate up a little bit. And then towards the end, we're actually pushing them to see what kind of capacity they're going to have. Are you able to do 10 minutes on an elliptical machine without stopping? Can you ride a mile on the recumbent bike? What physical limits do you have, and how comfortable are you getting back to pursuing life the way you want to?
And what is the threshold? Is it like when you feel pain, or is it like okay, I'm on the elliptical and I feel something, should I stop? Or is it like I just keep pushing until there's a point where I can't?
Well, I usually tell people that's why we do it in phases like that. Okay. So that I don't push people really quickly into something that might be uncomfortable.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So if you were able to do something a little with less impact and you could do that for 10 minutes, we just turn the intensity up 10%.
Gotcha.
Now you can do that for 10 minutes, right? So we're slowly increasing the intensity, we're slowly increasing the time. And the adjustment is really the most important part because that's what unlocks their spine, that's what gets their joints back to mobility so that they can do this comfortably. If they're in pain, they're not going to enjoy it, they're not going to do it, and the pain is going to prevent them from being able to enjoy life or being able to play sports or just enjoy your everyday.
Yeah. What does movement achieve for patients?
This is one of the things that I tell all my patients, that your body has different nerves that do different things. Some sense pain, pressure, heat, cold. The nerves that sense movement actually inhibit pain. So the more you move, the less you hurt. That's why you see a baseball player out here gets hit by a pitch, shakes it off. Right. You hit your finger with the hammer, you shake your hand. You're trying to stimulate all those nerves, they're called proprioceptors, to tell you where you're at in space. Yep. The more they fire, the less you hurt. Think about it from a developmental standpoint. If we, as humans, had the ability to move overridden by pain, we couldn't run away, we would be food a long time ago. So pain has to be overridden by your sensation of movement. So the more you move, the less you feel the pain. So you get somebody who, in the beginning, there's so much inflammation, there's so much pain after the accident, they don't want to move. But if you let them baby it for too long, the joint will start to decay and it will actually start to atrophy and get weaker and even more prone to injury further down the road. So the goal is, once we get them out of pain, once we get the joint to the point where it can move properly, then we want to get the muscles stretched. We want to actually get the person to move themselves so that their own pain threshold comes back up, so the muscles release, so that they, the pain spasm, pain cycle is broken up.
The word is the more you move.
The more you move, the better you feel.
Boom.
That's it.
Now, Dr. Dale, I do have a question. How much does mentality, like mindset, play into injury and recovery?
A ton. I actually have a big sign up in my office that says, "We are what we think." It's 5 sentences that all boil down to we are what we think. So what you believe, that's really who you are. So if you don't believe you can get back to mobility, if you don't believe that you're going to get better, it's really hard for me to fight through that. Yeah. But like I was talking about earlier, that patient who came in who had all these obstacles to overcome, there was no doubt in his mind that he was going to get back to spearfishing, into cave diving, into he bought another motorcycle. He had no question. So looking forward to working with that guy, I was like, hey, he's got the mindset. Right. There's nothing. I'm just going to be somebody who helps to coach him back to what he wants to do. He's already decided he's doing it. Yeah. So if I get somebody with that mindset, it's really easy to work with them.
But there's people with a different mindset. Yeah?
I was going to ask, like, the average person that has an accident comes in that's not like the gentleman that you had. Are they, I don't know if I can do this. Do you get that a lot?
Complains a lot.
I get a lot of that, but that's part of it, is just coaching them through the pain, coaching them through the frustration, because a lot of the times, especially if it's a car accident, there's other frustrating aspects of it. They don't have a car. How are they even going to get to the office? So that's one of the things we do. We try to provide them, if you need an Uber, we'll get you an Uber. If you need a way to get here, we'll try to help you to overcome those obstacles so it seems just less stressful. Because the more it seems like an unsurmountable thing, the more just depressing it can be for patients. So
more than just recover.
So
that actually plays into really, and I tell clients this all the time when they've been involved in accidents. My thing is, you get better, and I will do the rest. I'll handle the legal aspects. You're doing your demand, collecting your medicals. Dealing with the insurance companies, getting your recovery. But most importantly, the only obligation any person has that's been involved in an accident is to make themselves better. That's the only thing the law
you told me that many times.
Expects of you. So you need to mitigate your damage. And how do you do that? By seeking appropriate diagnosis and appropriate treatment with somebody like Dr. Dale. But it's difficult because it's daunting. I mean, people have lost ability to earn income, provide for their families. So there's that whole component of depression and hopelessness and things like that. But I've known Dr. Dale long enough, and I've seen him in action. He's worked on me, and he is a motivator, and he works physically. He's so involved with his patients. When you see his facility, I mean, there's a lot of interactive stuff there to do.
The environment is...
it's conducive to, achievement and moving forward. So, there comes a point where, all the king's horses and all the king's men have tried to put Humpty Dumpty back together again, but there's only so much they can do. So like Dr. Dale, you reach a point where you have treated the person conservatively for a period of weeks or months. You've referred them out to a neurologist or an orthopedist. They may have attempted injections to kind of dull the pain, but and they're too young to have a surgery. It's too life-changing a thing. Sure. So you reach a point where you make a determination that there's going to be permanent injury here. What do you do once that happens?
Well, that's one of those things where you can just sort of follow the AMA guidelines and you plug in what they can and can't do and what the diagnostic tests say. And it's just a plug and chug. You put that into the table and you get that back to, if they have representation, you get that back to their attorney so that you can kind of quantify it. But there's a lot of patients, like we were saying earlier, if you're in a car and it's sitting still and you're hit by something that's going faster than a human can run, about the same weight as 5 or 6 linebackers, and you're sitting still, boom, matter has limitations. There's only so much that I can do to get you back on the road again, back to, there may be, we see it in sports all the time, there are career-ending injuries. So it's unfortunate, but we see that happen with people who are not professional athletes too. And that can take them out of whatever game it is they're playing just as well, or at least to a certain degree, and that's why we have those numbers. And sometimes I feel like they're accurate, sometimes they're not, but, it's limited.
It's a guideline.
It's a guideline. You got to follow it,
Dr. Dale, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you something. For players that is watching us, what is the best exercise or something to prevent injury?
What kind of
like
injury?
an exercise, or what can we do? Because, for example, I had a problem in my shoulder probably 18 years ago climbing, and the doctor said, if you have stretched a little bit more, so you need to work on that. So what do you recommend for soccer players to prevent serious injuries, like stretching more? Okay. What do you think is important?
One of the things that I think is really important as far as stretching, that was one of the first things you mentioned, is people don't stretch their hip flexors as much as they need to. So your psoas, your piriformis, the muscles that actually create external rotation and internal rotation of your femur, those muscles, a lot of the times, they're neglected because most people know, okay, stretch your quads, stretch your hamstrings. We've seen
Everybody
people do
knows
this. You
how to
grew
do
up
the
doing
bit.
this. Your coaches started teaching you that when you were 6 years old. But as you get to a higher level, the muscles inside your pelvic girdle that control a lot of the fine motor movements, you can stretch those a little bit better. And you see athletes.
Have you ever did that?
Hips? Yeah. Maybe not to the level he's talking about, but
You have to use that evil foam roller.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other thing too is, and we do a lot of this in the office, the other thing too that's important is working on just balance. And people say core strength, but the best way to do that, I've found, especially for people who can't lift heavier weights, especially if they're trying to recover from an injury, is just doing exercises that stimulate your sense of balance.
Oh, nice.
So I try to get, I have one of those Bosu balls, I set it upside down, and I have people do
Bands,
rotational
bro.
exercises while balancing on that ball. So they're trying to stimulate not only just the muscles to move, but neurologically they're like resetting the control so that they have those fine motor movements so they can instinctively react so they're less prone to injury.
I can tell you from a personal experience, I cannot do the ball thing and do something else. I'm falling off every time, so I need to work on my balance.
Oh yeah, no,
It's harder than it looks,
I work with a trainer that puts me on that thing, and he has me stand on one foot, and then I have to move my 1 foot forward and backward. I have to hold on to something. Well, Dr. Dell, let me ask you a question too. We're sitting here with a couple of young guys here in their 20s and 30s, and and there's me. I'm in my 50s, early 50s. Is there anything you recommend for people of the older set, people that get into their 40s and their 50s, that help to prevent and deal with just if they want to perform athletically?
Swimming. It's summertime in Florida. It's
nice.
It's one of the best ways to start getting your range of motion up to where it needs to be without a whole lot of high impact. Like jogging can be a little tougher on your knees, but when you're swimming, you're able to actually obtain the range of motion that you want, especially through your shoulders and your hips. So swimming is a really good exercise for anybody, whether you're just a little bit older or you're trying to recover from an injury. Swimming is a great exercise.
Boom. Another one.
Yeah.
Another one bites the dust. Another one bites.
It's fun. It's funny. I remember that from when I grew up in Chicago, and I remember when Michael Jordan was hurt, and I was kind of a kid, and you saw him. The way he was rehabbing to get back after that ankle injury was mostly working a pool.
Oh, yeah.
I like how Tiago works the bell. He instinctively knows the most important things. If I were not, I'd be bailing for everything.
Oh no, I know.
They say
it's not just the most important. Just to do the reels. That that was very.
But, Dr. I do have a question. You said you work with athletes. Who's you don't have to give a name, but do you work with professional athletes?
I was about to ask them.
College.
I know you cannot mention names, but
and then a few of I work with a lot of golfers.
Okay.
I also work with some fighters.
Nice.
Golf is one of the ones where a lot of golfers come into my office because if there's just the smallest amount of pain, something that takes them out of the game, you think about something that requires a lot of torque and a lot of finesse, and where millimeters make a huge difference in your game. So they notice right away
something's off.
That something's off because they're so in tune with their body that a little twinge of pain, a little bit of just
it's interesting.
95% versus 100% of ability changes the game so much that they'll come in and just say, I've noticed, and it'll be something subtle. But if you can help them to regain their range of motion, their game improves very quickly.
Well, it's interesting because that, like you said, that's fine margins. That could be difference between winning and being lower than 10th or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of crazy.
And it's frustrating too if suddenly you know what you're supposed to do and you just can't do it, and it's so subtle that nobody else notices it, but you notice it, and it changes your game.
Can you give an example of what somebody came in with? And
it's a lot of lower back injuries, and they can't create the torque to come through.
Yeah.
So what happens is instead of just playing with 100% intention, they're holding back just a little bit because they don't trust their body.
Yeah.
And when you don't trust your body and you're trying to swing a golf club, it's
performance goes ways down.
Yeah, it's going to go
right.
You can overthink it, and if you're trying to anticipate, is this going to hurt? Can I do this? And
it's crazy.
It's not going to be good.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
Especially at that level. And is that at like an elite level, or is that like college?
It's It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I see some of I actually see a lot of guys coming in who want to make sure they aren't injured as college athletes. I get some guys who want to go D1 college and they want to make sure that they're not as prone to injury. So I have a few. It's crazy. I have one patient who he's a high school student, and he wants to go D1, and he comes in. He's outweighs me by about, I'm 185, and he's got to be 6'4", 215.
Wow.
And you're like, he's 17.
Okay.
That's a big 17-year-old. Yeah, so
That's hard.
But yeah, that's just his dad was really into college football and was actually helped to coach a little bit at a higher level too. So he just wanted to make sure his son stays injury free. Just do some preventative work to make sure that when he's out there playing at a higher level, that he's able to not, just stay free of injury.
So you said preventative work. What could you give an example of what that is and what you do?
Yeah, some people come in just straight up for prevention when it comes to chiropractic. It's the same way if you have a car that's a high performance car. You want to make sure you put in high quality gasoline, you change the oil, you make sure the tires are rotated. You do maintenance because you're going to expect high performance.
Wear and tear.
So I get a lot of people who come in and they just want to make sure that they're playing at the top of their game. They want to make sure that they don't get to the point where they need to rely on pills or where they have to abstain from some activities that they really enjoy. So I get a lot of people who just want to come in and keep themselves healthy. They keep it. And they look at it the same way as and get enough sleep, taking multivitamins, stretching, going to the gym, going to your chiropractor. So those are the patients who are sort of ahead of the curve as far as just understanding the value of preventative care versus we're sort of trained here in this country to wait until something breaks down to an emergency state, and then we go to the emergency room. But it's so much more cost effective and so much more enjoyable to not do that.
Who wouldn't think that, God, I wish I could have gone back in time and done things a little bit differently.
Sure.
Yeah, but now you've got the advice.
Yeah, really good. How you diagnose someone that doesn't have, he don't know if he's injured or not? Like, what kind of exam you do to say you injured, but you don't feel that you're injured? Like,
it's performance and range of motion.
okay.
So we'll just check, make sure everything's strength-wise is the same bilaterally. Make sure they can feel everything that they're supposed to be able to feel. Check their balance. Just check their range of motion. See if there's anything that's restricted. Yeah, that sort of thing.
That's kind of interesting because a lot of the patients, particularly people I see in auto cases, people that are a little older, once you approach your late 30s, early 40s, there are going to be natural degenerative processes going on in your body. Your discs are going to become thinner and darker. They're going to start pressing on the delicate structures of your spine. Some herniate, some bulge, and things like that, and they can cause pain. So Dr. Dale, like suppose somebody had a bulging or herniated disc that was touching on a nerve root or touching on the cord of their spine. What is that like for a person?
A lot of the times, if there's compression, there's a pain that radiates out. So it's just like, for an example, all of us here hit our funny bone. You actually hit it, it's your ulnar nerve, but it feels like everything up here in your hand is burning. That's just the way your brain maps it out. So if there's compression at the cord level, your brain maps it out that there are problems at the periphery of where that nerve goes. So a lot of the times that's frustrating and it can be debilitating because not only do you perceive it as far as pain, it can also affect your ability to control your muscles. So you can see some weakness sometimes, or even sometimes you can see just lack of normal sensation even in the skin. So you can see numbness, you can see weakness, and you can see pain.
One of the important things, too, is just to give you an idea, so few people that are injured have surgeries. More of them have injections and things, but for the most part, people rely upon conservative therapy. The legislature did something crazy some years ago when Rick Scott took over Florida, and they took massage therapy out of the scheme of statutory reimbursement under PIP. Which is, I mean, anything that moves you, that breaks scar tissue, that gets, I guess, oxygen flowing to the muscles. I mean, that's really the thing that addresses the types of injuries that happen most often to people. And yet, the insurance industry, they try, and even the medical industry tries to disenfranchise and discourage people from the type of treatment that they themselves script out for. But just in the name of, but
well, it makes sense that you're saying that because I deal with or I guess when I played more as a kid or even as a young adult, I had a lot of scar tissue in my legs, in my quads, and it hurts like hell. But you need to roll it out. You need to get pressure points in there. But if you're not getting that coverage, it's
You can cover what you feel like when you're seated for an hour, yeah? Let's solve your problem. Kyle has a problem. Let's see if the doctor can solve this problem. Kyle cannot be seated for over 30 minutes.
If I sit down for too long, I always have to get up and move. My legs are killing me, and that's what he's making a joke about, yeah.
Let's see if we can fix that. What do you think? Amy, you got a diagnosis, so you will be.
I just feel like tightness and stuff, and I'm like, I got to get up, man. I can't be.
Let me maybe encapsulate that in a question that's a little more focused. Dr. Dale, what do you consider to be the human body's capacity to heal itself?
That's deep. Nice.
Oh my goodness, I'm learning.
It's amazing what your body is capable of. You know what people can come back from. All it needs is a little bit of support and some coaching, and a lot of the times, just like what Chris was saying earlier, a big thing that's helpful to me is being able to work with an attorney that can keep the patient focused and to keep them positive. Because they'll come into me and ask me questions that are, I'm worried about my car, I'm worried about my insurance, I'm worried about
money to pay the service.
I can't go to work, you know, I'm not going to be able to ride my bike again, I'm not going to be, okay, we're going to take it, we're due today, what we can do today. And as long as it's better today than it was yesterday,
correct. Yeah.
We'll keep moving in that direction.
Right, step in the right direction.
And 6 months from now, you're going to be in a lot better place. But those other things that you're worried about, that's why you have a lawyer. So just take those and scrape it off your plate and hand it over to your attorney because he'll take care of that.
It's like they tell people in sort of in self-improvement, don't compare yourself to everybody else. Compare yourself to who you were the day before.
Right.
And I
see. Oh my goodness, that was really good.
Yeah. I got 3 belts. How many did you get?
I think you're beating me. Those are mine. Those were mine.
But it's true.
Nice.
And you know, in Dale's philosophy, and you know, he treats clients of mine, and it's make yourself better every day. You know, a little at a time, a little more movement, do a little more. And look at the gentleman that can now do the things that maybe he thought he wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think, like you said, it comes down to mentality. You have to believe that you will overcome that. If you're questioning it, and I think it's normal, at least in my mind, that I've seen with at least myself, something wrong happens, and you go, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
Sure.
And that's the first thing most people think about is, I can't do it, or this isn't going to work for me, and it's always negative.
You know,
negative.
The motto for my law firm is it's personal to me because it's personal to you. And sort of encompassed in that idea is the idea that I believe in my clients, and I believe in their claims. And Dale believes in his clients, and you know, and I think that's that if you have a doctor with a good attitude, interestingly, I was at Dunkin' Donuts this morning getting my green tea that I get every day, and the lady was smiling so big at me and telling me how good the green tea was for me every day, and I'm like, wow, how can you be so positive? It's like 5:30 in the morning, and she's like, it just helps the time pass better. I just like being this way. But when you have
a choice to make.
The right attitude, being happy or being miserable is a choice.
This translates for any area, like businessmen, everything.
I mean, in sports too, it's all in between the ears. You know, the kid that's going to be positive, the kid that's going to do the work.
Yeah. So let me ask you, who, in which case, people that is watching us should call you?
Anybody that's been injured in a motor vehicle accident or hurt on somebody else's property, whether it's private residence, whether it's a retail establishment, you're a guest on those premises, you're a business invitee on those premises. They have a duty to make the premises safe, the landowners. So if that duty's been violated, call me. And not only that, and also call me about questions about things that you're maybe not sure about.
Yeah.
Even if you caused an accident, I can still talk to you. I can still kind of give you the law and kind of give you an idea of where you are. Yeah. And sometimes people think that, the interesting about Florida is a pure comparative fault state. So if you are 99% responsible as a plaintiff, you may recover 1%. I mean, that's a little crazy, but you see it more in terms of, you're a plaintiff, you're 25% at fault, maybe you're 50% at fault. But even if you're 50% at fault, you can still recover. So never take for granted the fact that you may have a case. And what's the worst thing a lawyer is going to tell you is, no, you don't. Try another lawyer. I can't help you, but you got to knock on those doors. You got to ask the question. So I'm always there for people. Yeah. I give them my cell number so that they can reach me directly.
We can put in the description on this video.
Sure.
So let me ask another thing, like talking about, for example, our indoor facility here. So is myth or fact? Like if we mop the ground and we put the yellow sign, are we covered if someone fell?
Well, here's the thing: you have a duty to make the premises safe. You know, and particularly for people that you've invited to go do business on your property. So there's a spectrum of responsibility. You have your business invitees who are given the most consideration, and you have a duty to make the premises safe. You have a duty to remove dangers.
Yeah.
You have a duty to not just warn them of a wet floor, but you have a duty to attenuate them, keep them away from it. So it's not enough to warn people. You got to keep them away from the danger because you're not doing enough if you're just warning them.
How we prove?
How do you prove?
Let's say someone sued us. We need to prove that we try to keep them away of.
Well, you'd have to demonstrate, because the law is actually in favor of the landowner.
Okay.
If somebody were to accuse you of negligence, they would have to demonstrate that you behaved unreasonably. So one of the ways as a plaintiff's attorney we go at that is like, what are your own policies? Were you even following your own policies? And then we look to the Florida Building Code in a case where, so you had a floor that was insufficiently slip resistant. So it wouldn't matter if this floor was wet or dry. Our engineer tested it, and wet or dry, this floor is too slippery. You want to make sure that you adhere to building codes and things like that. Even though they're not the law, they are a measure of what's reasonableness. And negligence is just failure to use reasonable care.
Yeah. Can we use like video tapes to cover?
Video is good. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Video can be a double-edged sword. It can help you. It can hurt you. Documenting a situation is probably not the worst thing in the world to do. And if you're being careful and doing the things you need to do, it's probably going to play out in your favor more often than it's not. But on the other hand, accidents happen.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that people understand, because people are coming into this facility to use it for physically strenuous,
correct,
contact potential reasons, and you want to make sure that your release has all of that outlined so that people fully understand, and you want to avoid anything grossly negligent as far as your conduct toward your invitees. Even trespassers are afforded. You can't trap a trespasser. Some people are like, well, I got that shotgun pointed at my front door and I'm on vacation. Somebody comes in that front door, boom. Yeah. You can't do that. You can, nowadays with the stand your ground in the gun laws in Florida, you can shoot somebody that walks into your house, but you can't remotely set up a trap for them. Yeah. And so even a trespasser is given. If somebody were to come in here and they were to break in and they were to slip and break and fall and break their leg, they can sue you, even though they've broken in.
This is terrible. What about on the soccer fields? If we put a sign, play at your own risk, are we still need to collect waivers, or we good on?
No, you need to get waivers. I mean, you need to have a well-crafted release, reasonable one that and these things are available. I mean, they're just out there. Many sports facilities will use them, and provided that you adhere to what's reasonable as a landowner and don't engage in any gross acts of negligence, a good release should protect you, because not only do you have the other side having to demonstrate you behaved unreasonably before the burden would shift to you to show that you behaved reasonably, but you'd also have this document, which as a matter of law may exonerate you from liability. And I know you guys are being as safe as you know how to be. Yeah. But there are other things that you need to do. Yeah.
You are protected by CDB law.
Yeah. What I was going to say too, and I think it's great from both of you, is when you guys are as I'll say a mom and pop shop, small business. I think from my perspective, I think it makes a difference, and then you put more attention to detail into clients. You focus up more and try and what's the word I want to use, like drive value back. And I noticed that on our side as well. Like we always try, because we're a small business. We can give more value to people. We give more attention. We communicate a little bit better. We show better. But I don't think the big businesses necessarily go to the same steps that you guys have done, especially for you, Chris. For me, like you like you said to me, I'll take care of everything. You just make sure you get better. Right. Somebody said that to me.
Yeah, this is amazing.
I was like, what? I don't have to do nothing. No, I got it. I'm going to take care of this. You get better. Oh, okay. Easy. Nice. Yeah. Make my life easy. So. I think those type of things make a big difference from a small business. So I think it helps a lot.
Yeah. Absolutely. In any situation, you don't want to feel like a number.
Right.
You want to feel like somebody knows you personally and actually cares about what you're going through. Yeah. So that is one of the reasons why at both my clinics, I wanted to feel like if you are comfortable inviting your parents in, like if one of my patients could say, hey, I'm going to bring my mom in there, then I know I've done a good job. Because you almost want to feel like, okay, this person feels like a part of something.
It's the review.
They
directly review.
Yeah, they felt comfortable enough to say, I'm going to recommend you to somebody who's important to me.
Right.
That's a pretty good feeling.
Right.
It's really good, really good. So, let me see what I have right here.
Uh-oh.
So, you're good on the hands, yeah? You know, like...
Yeah, try to be, yeah.
Okay, so we have a challenge here. You guys don't need that. You guys don't need that. But
Buddy.
we have a challenge here.
Yeah.
Why you don't explain it?
Sure. Rubik's Cube. I mean, you guys know how
This
this
is a challenge
works.
that nobody did yet. So we're trying.
Sayo will give a color, and if you can solve the color, you'll get, I think it's 10 seconds. If you can solve the color in 10 seconds, you get $10. If you can solve the whole thing, you get every color in 30 seconds, you get $100.
That's it.
Pretty simple.
They don't need the money, but let's do it. We can donate for people under prison.
I don't even know how to do this. I'm terrible at this.
That's fine.
So Sayo, want to give a color?
Counting.
Yellow.
Yellow.
Boom.
Oh, the way that he holds. Opa.
He's like me. Oh, man.
You guys say, Kyle, what the heck was that?
Let's see.
Which one of you two can do this really well?
I cannot. Not me.
I
He-
can't.
Right there. All right.
Yeah. But I don't know on this. The two ones is harder than that one. Or you can try that one while he's trying this.
Practice.
Yeah,
He solved already. He solved already.
Does that count?
It's missing one. It's missing one.
All right.
Oh,
what color
my
we going?
goodness.
What color, Sayo?
Green.
Opa, green.
So you can get the $100. Please don't use this fake.
I was going to say, it definitely doesn't look quite right.
Done. Uh-oh. We got to actually pay.
Opa! He got $10, guys.
We got to
See?
pay. Yeah, we got to pay.
Maybe it was the second
Yeah.
guest to
Tesho
solve
did it
that.
once, yeah.
Tesho, Orlando City player, did. And Dr. Dale right now. Good job.
Thanks.
Man.
So, what is the you have another question, Kyle?
No, not really. I mean, I don't know if there's a lot more that I'd have. I guess the only last question I would have is, why did you guys start your own business? Why'd you get into it?
Yeah, I'd been associate of other attorneys. I've been junior partner, and I didn't like the way they did things, and I wanted to do it my way, and I wanted to care for my clients. I wanted to have the freedom to do the things I know I need to do, and not be told that no, you can't do this because you need to be in the office or you need to this. I instinctively deal with my clients. And try to approach my cases from a standpoint of compassion and give them time, even if it's more time than I really have. I think you err on the side of giving them more time and more attention. I think that's a better thing, and that's really the reason I started doing it on my own.
Yeah, when I was in college, I knew I wanted to go into the medical field. I just didn't know what aspect of it. So I started looking into, there was a neurosurgeon who lived across the street from me when I was growing up, and then there was a chiropractor in the same neighborhood. And so I as a freshman, I had to do a compare and contrast project. So I talked to both of them, and I liked the way they both approached it. They were both really good guys, but the chiropractor was pretty inspirational in that his idea or his philosophy is that the body's an amazing self-healing machine. It just needs some support. It doesn't need chemical dependencies, and it's not a good idea to start cutting things out of it. So let's see if we can do things whereas, nutritionally, can we provide balance? Mechanically, can we provide motion? Can we get the body back to balance and back to health the way it really, it was designed to be used? And that was what I saw myself wanting to do. I would rather help to balance somebody and get them back to pursuing something they consider to be enjoyable, as opposed to just emergency or creating, a chemical safety blanket, really. I know that those things have their place, but I don't want my patients to be dependent on that sort of thing. It's nice to be able to get people back
Helping
to,
people. Yeah, that's funny because there was some guests that works in your area. Aurimar, we had Mohammed Ishan as well. So they always say the same thing, like helping people that motivate myself to open business. This is really good. Again, thank you so much, you guys, for coming.
You guys have like a closing statement you'd like to leave? You know, I don't know what, but just leave for the audience that would be paying attention to this.
I have one thing before yours.
Oh.
So we're going to invite you more often.
Oh, thank
to
you.
be as a host with us. This is great.
Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate that. No, and you know, people that have been injured, the only silly question is a question you don't ask. You know, you can reach me on my cell at 727-656-7852. I'm happy here to answer your questions anytime. If you've been injured, call me. If you have somebody that you care about has been injured, call me. I serve Orlando, Lakeland, Tampa. You know, I'm all over Central Florida, and I'm there where my clients need me to be.
Yeah.
Not on a billboard necessarily, but I'm there with my clients when they need me.
Working.
At the most important time.
Yeah.
And I know that from fact. I was there. I've been one, so I get it.
It's approved by Kyle
Best
Wilson.
in the business. There we go.
Best in the business.
Thanks.
Hey, all
All right.
right.
Final consideration as well. If you want to say something for whoever wants to follow your saying, you know.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. If you want to find me, I'm pretty easy to find. Whether it's here in Orlando or in Tampa, it's Orlando Central Chiropractic or Tampa Central Chiropractic. It's just www before the name. www Orlando Central or Tampa Central Chiropractic. There's a lot of information on the website. You can see pictures, you can see videos. I think a lot of the interactive stuff's already on the website, so
Nice.
you can see testimonials and then make your own decision, your own informed decision. And yeah, that's the easiest way to find me. I think is that.
Nice. Yeah, perfect.
And let me just give the website for me. I forgot to give it is cdbinjurylaw.com. That's Charlie Delta Bravo injurylaw.com.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's do it. And I have a final consideration, guys. Sponsor us, small companies, big companies that is interested in being involved with us. So we are putting right here like a neon sign. There's a lot of things coming up. Thank you so much, Mercedes-Benz, for being our sponsor. Mares, you guys own us a lunch, so we're gonna stop by one day. Again, we are Club Neutral podcast and YouTube channel, but we want to say thank you for High Soccer Prospects, High Soccer Academy, and High Soccer Arena for helping us on this show. And thank you so
Yeah,
much
thank you guys so much
once again for coming. I hope you guys enjoy it.
We'll have to do a
Thanks for having
follow-up
us.
soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's all good, Ciosito. Thank you, Meta Media, as well.
Done.
If
Thank
you
you.
need assistance with
Social media.
flyers, website, anything, it's Meta Media, Seoul. Yes? What else? Oh, again,
That's
let me
it.
talk more. There's 5 seconds.
3, 2.
You can buy our glass on the
Do it now,
website.
quick.
See you in the next show.